Plus, a funding deal has been reached, but some Republicans are already revolting against that bipartisan plan. We'll talk about it with Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. And the debut of America's most beloved mob boss happening 25 years ago, how it's being celebrated. That and much, much more tonight on The Debrief. I'm Del Walters live in Atlanta. You are watching The Debrief. There were fireworks today before the last face-off between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Both will debate for the last time before the Iowa caucuses on CNN tonight. The former president will not be there. But tonight, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie setting the table for the people who are still in the race, telling them to declare Donald Trump unfit or admit that you are unfit yourselves. Our national political correspondent Nathaniel Reed is live in Des Moines right now ahead of tonight's crucial GOP events. Nate, before we get to that, the former governor of New Jersey announcing that he is suspending his presidential campaign. Based on the voters that you talked to in Iowa, was he even a factor?
Not really. I mean, when we talk to voters about who they'd consider other than former President Trump, who, remember, is polling at roughly 50% or so in the last several Iowa caucus polls, Chris Christie was never really a name that came up. Everyone we've talked to is considering either Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, or, of course, Trump himself. The thing is that Chris Christie, if he held a single event in Iowa, he forgot to tell voters. He has been focusing on New Hampshire since the very beginning. He believed that that would be where he could get the most support. Again, his support was fairly strong as an undercard candidate in New Hampshire. That being said, in Iowa, he was kind of a blip in the polls, polling behind Vivek Ramaswamy somewhere in the around 3% range in the most recent Iowa caucus poll we saw in late December. And so it's not really too much of a seismic shift, but it's certainly going to be a major development that we're going to be watching for on the debate stage tonight when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley actually square off and now do not have to worry about someone else who would have taken up a lot of that oxygen in New Hampshire.
Nate, turning to the debate that's going to take place tonight, what are Haley and DeSantis hoping to achieve?
Well, look, they're trying to make clear that they are the right person for the job. And here it's kind of an undercard debate because whoever comes out on top of this one, either of them, it'll probably be judged by them being in second place. Haley and DeSantis have been tied for second in most of the Iowa polling that we've seen so far. Former President Trump polling again around 50% or so. So the Florida governor, the former governor of South Carolina, hoping to come in second. Either of them, though, hoping to have a strong showing here to carry that momentum forward to New Hampshire and the other primary states. Yesterday, Florida Governor DeSantis was asked, what the threshold would be for success for him, whether he would consider dropping out if he doesn't do well here. I think there's a desire among those two other campaigns to try and push forward and even if they don't do well here in Iowa, do well in New Hampshire. Vivek, of course, not invited to this event. He did not qualify based on CNN standards. He told us earlier today that he believes those polls CNN used to determine eligibility are fake.
Nathaniel Reed for us live in Des Moines, Iowa tonight. Nate, as always, thank you very much. I want to go to Hank Sheinkopf right now, a political consultant at Sheinkopf Communications. Let's begin with that breaking news that Chris Christie is out, but he also, as I said, laid down that gauntlet to those who are still in, saying anyone refusing to say that Donald Trump is unfit to hold the office is unfit themselves. Take a listen.
That he is unfit to be president of the United States is unfit themselves to be president of the United States.
He has made that his mantra since the campaign began, and apparently, based on the polls, it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. Your thoughts?
Wrong messenger, maybe right message for some segments of the Republican Party, but right now, the Republican Party belongs to one person, and his name is Donald Trump.
I was going to ask you about that because for years we've been hearing that MAGA is the Donald Trump Republican Party. My question is there even a Republican Party anymore?
There really isn't. There's a Trump Party. It's been overtaken by people who are resentful of both coasts, who don't like New York, don't like Los Angeles, don't like Washington. They believe that they've been taken advantage of. They believe they have no place in society, and they believe that Donald Trump is the only person who can, frankly, do anything for them and who can allow them to vent their anger against those in power.
Tonight, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis going head to head. It has been described as the 11th round in a 12-round prize fight. Both fighters are being told by their corners to go for the knockout. Will they?
DeSantis probably won't. He'll try, but he won't get there. She will just defend herself and well as she did in the last debate, and she'll come out of it on top probably. DeSantis is he's kind of like the balloon that lost its air a long time ago. She's fresh. She's a woman. She looks great on the air. She has an important argument to make, and he's flat.
Hank, in all your years of politics, have you ever seen a contest where everybody on the so-called undercard went after each other and never went after the person at the top of the ticket?
Nothing like this ever. And this is unique. Why? To go after the person at the top of the ticket and the Trump party, which is what it is. It's no longer the Republican Party. It's the Trump party. It's the court potentially disaster because they look at polls and what they see is a Trump who's almost unbeatable. If they want to place the future of that Republican Party, so long as it exists as the Trump party, they're going to be very careful. Why? Because if you hit the king very hard, people are going to remember.
Biden says the future of democracy is on the ticket. Is he right?
He is right to some extent. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the system that is frankly kind of broken down. Both parties are in trouble. Their coalitions are very brittle. The difference, and when you have this kind of income gap between the rich and the poor, plus this angst and battle between regions in a country, it's not likely to work out well. And his best card, frankly, in the campaign for re-election is to talk about Trump. Why? Because Trump is likely to be the nominee. Trump is the person he beat the last time, and Biden will have trouble defending his economic record and the record of very simple fact that the United States is closer to World War III than it's been at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So that being said, would you trust Donald Trump with the nuclear codes?
Very good question. That's why you're in the business you're in. I wouldn't trust anybody with the nuclear codes. That's why we have in the military many, many built-in ways to ensure that a screwball or someone who wants revenge or someone who's untrustworthy can't get that bomb to drop. But we're very close to it today.
Hank, I'm going to push back on something you just said a moment ago. You said that democracy is on the ballot, but you didn't point to the fact that the former president of the United States faces 91 separate counts in 4 separate jurisdictions. And I'll preface that by saying most of it stemming from actions that if he held a rally on January 5th instead of the 6th, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I understand that. Let me answer your question, which I think is very important in a different way. He is one man, but the problem that he has unleashed involves many, many, many people. It's at the state capitol level. It's at people who are just fed up and who are looking to him as the Messiah. Is he the problem? He is the response to the problem. There are a bunch of people in this country, and lots of them, who feel completely alienated, economically disadvantaged, not the way we'd normally think, and who want their share, their moment in the sun. They look to Donald Trump as the person who can give them that, and he is, frankly, what many in political science used to call the man on the white horse. But in order to be on that white horse and leading people, you have to have a following, and his following grows every day despite his legal troubles.
Hank Sheinkopf, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
Sorry for the delay.